So I'm back. I hope everybody's been doing well. So over the last, probably like 14 weeks, I've basically been applying. After I did medicine in November, I was supposed to do radiology, but I got booted off because I was missing too many days for interviews. So I was already working on a research project at that time, so I just had my advisor fill out some paperwork and I got credit for that. And then after New Year's in January, I did health policy and economics, which also afforded me a lot of schedule flexibility. And all I did was read a book and make a presentation. So if you remember from posts past, it's something that I'm interested in anyway. So that actually was pretty cool. And then these past 4 weeks, I haven't been doing any interviews, but I was doing a rotation in rheumatology, which it was nice because it's so systemic. I'd been out of clinical rotations for so long. I was really atrophied, and it was good to kind of refresh my memory on a bunch of stuff. So I did that. I'll probably do a post on that later on. It was actually pretty cool. So I think that this post is going to be mostly about applying to residency. Applying to med school is similar to applying to college. Applying to residency is kind of similar to applying to med school, but also totally different because you're in this weird gray area between, like, you're still in training, but you're working and they pay you not as much as they will eventually, but a little bit, which is nice. Basically the way it works is you go to this website called ERAS, the Electronic Residency Application Service, and you fill in all the information, where you went to school and your extracurriculars. You upload your personal statement, the school uploads your letters of recommendation and your dean's letter and your transcripts and all that. And you choose where you want to go or where you want to apply to. So the main division, once you've decided what specialty you're going to go into, is if you wanted to go to a community or an academic program. I'm going to grossly generalize here. If you are watching this and you're already in a residency program, I don't want to hear any comments about how your program is an exception to the rule. This is just going to be a gross generalization, okay? So an academic program, by and large, it's usually connected to a university and it's usually heavily involved in research. So there's typically some kind of research component that's required or strongly encouraged. Either a year off during which time you do that, or certain requirements that you have to meet year by year. And for surgery, at least, there's usually a whole bunch of fellows come around, so people who have already completed a surgical residency who are doing their subspecialization. And the downside can be that a lot of times the operative experience isn't as good, so there's a lot more fighting for cases. There's pretty heavy hierarchy by and large, so interns and even second years can sometimes have a hard time getting into the OR. But because of all the research and academic connections, it's easier to get into a fellowship that way. Community programs, by and large, are smaller, and they're usually not associated with a university. So this would be your Kaisers, your small community hospitals, that kind of thing. They usually have, 2 to 4 residents at the most. Some are bigger. Usually they're smaller, though. And usually the cases that they see are less complicated. The research isn't as intensive. It's more, clinical research, that sort of thing. There's no bench research by and large, which is a problem if you want to go into like pediatric surgery or surg-onc. And the upshot being that usually you get more cases overall. So you get more less complicated cases. So that is really good preparation if you don't want to do a specialization afterwards, if you want to, go back and, just be a general surgeon. The problem being that in more urban areas, those jobs are rapidly disappearing. There's, I'm not going to comment on if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but there is a big push towards more specialization in medicine. Usually people have better outcomes, but it's harder to coordinate care that way because there's no one person who's involved or who's in charge of the whole thing. So, generalists, unfortunately, are becoming a thing of the past, especially in urban areas. Because why would you go to a general surgeon for something when you can go to the like world specialist on whatever, and like this is all they do and they are amazing at it. And somewhere along the line I've turned into a city girl, so that's kind of the plan at this point. After you go on all your interviews, so like your interviews are offered through email and you coordinate it that way, you have to pay for all these expenses on your own, by the way. Like I've never been so broke in my entire life. After you go on all your interviews, you make a list of all the places you interviewed at in the order you'd like to go to them. And they similarly make a list of all the people all the applicants that they interviewed in the order they want them. This was all due on February 22nd, which I think was a Wednesday. The whole thing is fed into a computer and it spits out a match. So basically the optimization of the two lists, where you want to go the most that also wanted you. My situation was complicated a little bit further by I was in a couples match. So my boyfriend is applying into OB-GYN, and there's an option you can link your application. So, but instead of putting in just a straight list, you put in pairs of places that you want to be. And so it's kind of up to you, how far you're willing to be, and what kinds of programs you want to go to. And it's a huge negotiation in terms of like where are you willing to live, and program quality, and all that kind of stuff. So that took several rounds of negotiations before we finally had our finished product. Also, where most people, their lists aren't more than like 10 or 15 places long, I went on 23 interviews, and our list by the end was like over 100 combinations long. One of our friends, like their list ended up being like over 260 places, something like that. So you repeat places obviously, but like it's a nightmare. You have to be really, really serious before you would consider doing this. Also, because, like, let's say you absolutely fall in love with a program. Like, first of all, you have to convince your partner to also be in that area, and then they have to get into a program that's nearby, so yeah, it was a long process, and I'm really glad it's done. And we get emails on March 12th if we matched. And then on March 16th, there's this big ceremony where they hand out envelopes that tell you where you matched. There is an outside possibility that you don't match if you didn't interview at enough places, if you don't interview that well. I've heard of it happening. Basically, none of the places liked you enough to have you match there, which is really unfortunate. In that case, they're starting this new place. There used to be a scramble, so basically you had to just find a place that had a spot and try to negotiate your way into it. My school's really well connected, so it used to be really easy for us, but this year they're doing this like secondary match thing, and basically you have to like reapply, and they do like telephone or Skype interviews, and it's basically every 2 weeks there's another match for the remaining places that are left. And it's supposed to be more even, but, like I said, if you went to a school that was traditionally a really good scrambler, it's kind of scary. So they've been giving us fire and brimstone speeches this whole year about, make sure you apply to enough places, make sure you go on enough interviews, If you're thinking about not ranking a place because you didn't like it, think of it this way, would you rather not be this specialty than go to this place? And the answer usually is no. You have to have a really, really good reason before they tell you that that's a good idea. So that's what I was doing from November through January. Next week, I think I'll make a post on rheumatology, and today I started cardiology, which is nice. Fourth year is awesome. I have so much free time now. Like I've never had this much time through all of med school, so we're all planning a lot of trips, and the whole class is hanging out and everything, and it's been really, really fun. So yeah, next week I'll do cardiology. Or no, I'll do rheumatology. And then when I'm done with everything, I'll do cards. Because that's my last rotation of medical school. I'm gonna have all my electives and everything done after 4 weeks from now. So like it's amazing, and I'm gonna go traveling, and it's gonna be really cool. So feel free to leave me questions. Like I said, don't leave me comments about your program and how it doesn't fit the mold. I don't care. Yeah, I'll see you guys next week. I hope everybody's doing well.